Are we ready?
Yeah, let's
Okay, so welcome back to another episode of the Manchester SEO podcast. Delighted to be joined by Rich Williams today from SCG Solutions.
Thanks for having me.
Well done. We'll start with telling us a bit more about SCG Solutions. What do you do?
Oh, wow, that's a loaded question. SCG Solutions is a telecoms business. So that's internet, telephony, mobiles, cybersecurity, that sort of stuff. So all very, very boring, James. But I guess what we're probably a little bit different is that we also help others build telecoms companies.
Right.
So even on my drive down here, I was speaking to a guy who used to work at Purple Bricks, now just sold a pub, and now is potentially looking at a different opportunity. And we can talk to him about helping him start a telecoms company.
Okay.
2 young kids, and we've got the ability to do that now, which is quite cool.
So it's kind of like a ready-made business that they can just start selling and building up their client.
Massively, and also with the opportunity, obviously everyone's got telecoms, right? So everyone who's ever spoke to in his business life as could be a customer going forwards, and there's an opportunity for people to do really, really well, and we've got people selling multi-million pound businesses back to SCG about themselves. So yeah, it's a good. I'm really excited about that. The internet and the telephony side is what we do, but actually helping people become millionaires is what excites me a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of work that goes in before that.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Sounds good though. How did you get into this?
So I won't tell the really long story. So, but it all really stems from I used to do door-to-door sales. So a chap who recruited me from Loughborough University. We went out to the States, did door-to-door sales, selling educational books and software.
Okay.
And I've done that in Nashville, Tennessee, Portland, Oregon, Seattle. I've done it in Australia. I've done it in the UK. And we did that for sort of 6 summers while at university. And at the back of that, he set up a telecoms company.
Okay.
So he's done that for 15, 16 years. He's godfather to my kids. Name is John Willis. He's godfather to one of my kids. And probably over the last 16 years, he said, you should do this. You'd be good at this. You should do that. I'm like, I'm not running a telecoms company. I've got no interest in doing that. Internet, all this sort of stuff. That's boring. Not doing that. And then it kind of, just before COVID came, 2020, March 2020, we obviously know what happened there. I'd finished what I thought was cool and was an audio company traveling around the world. 2 young kids, and said, no, I'd really like to now be what you've got in Aberdeen, which is the phone guy.
Yeah.
I'd like to be that in Bolton.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've set about creating, ideally, is a Bolton-based franchise, if you like, that we can be that guy within Bolton to give honest, straight-up advice around telephony. And then I guess what I'm trying to do now is to go to other people in Birmingham or Swansea or wherever it is to kind of go, well, I've done it. Let me show you how you can do it yourself.
Yeah. I need to go back to this selling door to door in the States. The thing that would worry me about that is they've all got guns, haven't they? You know, and I know how grumpy the UK people can be to door salesmen. You know, you must have some stories.
Oh, so some crazy stories. So I think, yeah, having worked in some place, I've worked in Indianapolis, which is some really, and unfortunately seen racism. I've seen guns. I've seen crazy stuff. I've been with a person that obviously it's education. So we're the great thing about States is that they buy an emotion. And so being a British guy who I've had people ask me the question, do you speak French in England? And so it's kind of that sort of conversation. So there's those sort of levels of it, but also we're selling education books to help the kids with homework. Yeah. And so I've been in a situation where a guy sat with a Magnum and a gun there and a target that he's just shot from 100 yards away there, while I'm demonstrating as a 19-year-old boy, demonstrating some books with his wife there and his daughter there, showing how I can help with my homework. And fortunately, they spent about $500 on these books, but it was some good money. But some of the really, really interesting. But again, from what I do now, it's the university of life, right? We work 80 hours a week, met some unbelievable people, and we made some pretty good money. But it was good grounding.
Yeah, I mean, it's like being put on the front line in your first job there, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we didn't have places to live. We literally knocked on doors and asked people if they wanted to host 2 British students from Loughborough University. That was how mental it was. You paid your own way out there, you paid your flights, your visa. I tell these stories to a lot of people. They go, "You did what?" I did Camp America, which was quite nice and fuzzy. This was very different. But again, unbelievable experience for a 19-year-old kid from
well, I mean, that explains a lot, because when I see you in networking groups, you always come across as very confident and good, with your words, and there's never any kind of issue. It's always quite calm, but I'm sure that's because the levels of what you started at compared to what you...
It's also the elocution lessons. The Birmingham got beaten out on me. I think you're right, aren't you? I think plus, I think I was on a call today, and I was having a conversation with a 19-year-old lad who's looking to start a telecoms company. He's still at university, unbelievable entrepreneur. He's already making £100,000 a year in some really cool computer science stuff.
Really?
But wants a few mentors and wants to do something that isn't computer science. And I was like, well, we'd love to help you. But we were having that conversation. I've probably done 10,000 sales demonstrations. And when you look at that, it's just a repetitive thing, isn't it? Once you do it that many times, no different to taking a golf swing or playing football, or you're a cricketer. It's exactly the same.
You've seen I'm not a golfer.
I've seen you're not a golfer, but I know you're a very good cricketer, and I can imagine you've done that for 20, 25 years. So I guess that's the benefit of all of this, is just the discipline of doing it.
Is there any, I mean, I've spoken to a few like sales coaches and sales trainers about modern day compared to when they started. And obviously technology's changed and people's behaviors have changed. And do you find that people are a bit afraid to get on the phone, or to go and meet people, or to do the...
Yeah, I think, hugely. I think, and again, because we're in the arguably the recruitment game. Yes, we sell, we build our own book of business, but we're also in the recruitment game of finding individuals. And I talk about this 19-year-old I was speaking to today. He was very rare. There's people who ultimately want to send an email and then send another email. I'll send another email 5 days later and hope that I get a response. Again, you and I in our day was, you pick up the phone, and if you don't get an answer, you pick up the phone. And I think that's the common denominator with maybe sort of younger individuals, or just that education of, well, I want to do YouTube, I want to do the social media side of it. And I think it's understanding and educating the blend as a space for all of it. We talk about different flavors of pancakes. And so talk about this coffee and tea, what do you want to work in today? And it's having a real good blend of all of those areas. Great social media over here, the ability to get on the phone over here, the ability to still knock on doors. So we still go out to businesses and knock on doors and ask them, how's your internet? It's quite the success rate from that, because no one else wants to do it.
Yeah,
it's huge.
You see with this is a tenuous link, but football is, the tactics have changed so much since Pep's come over, and now he's seeing a lot more long ball football, because they don't know how to defend against that. So there's that, well, you've probably got more chance of surprising someone and getting the deal, because it's slightly different and it's more direct and it's a little bit more, with you're relating it back to sales, you've got more chance now, whereas 25 years ago, maybe everyone was calling. And then it'd just be no.
Yeah, just be no. And I think there's, but it's so crazy now, isn't it? The forms that you can approach someone on LinkedIn, and then you can give them the phone, and you can probably get people's mobile numbers from most places now, a bit of data scraping. And there's so many ways, if you're clever about it and you're not blinkered in either way, you can go to market now. And that, I'd argue that it's a better time to be a salesperson than ever before, because there's so much more data and everyone's approachable. as long as you go there with a value offering and not trying to sell. Because again, everyone can sell and everyone can sell on price, but if you go there with a value offering that I can help, I can assist you through a process and look for a partner over 10 years, I think people respect that as opposed to let me just sell you something cheaper than what you've got already.
Yeah. It's fascinating, isn't it? I love the talking about the sell or the process of it or people and what makes people tick and how engages people.
Oh, massive. And it's when I go back to 19-year-old knocking on doors 80 hours a week, we did that whole job was you knock on 30 doors. Yeah. If you do that, you will be successful. If you knock on 29, you'll be less successful than if you knock on 30. And it was just that training. And it's still really what I try and instill in anyone we work with today is just do those hard things over and over again for a sustained period of time, you will be successful. But not many people want to do it, right?
Did you, you mentioned you did in Australia as well?
Well, Australia was a bit different. I sold, it was part of a company called Aussie Farmers. And so we sold, which is a bit different to educational books, but we sold farm products. Door to door. So, the old milkman in England and stuff like that. So you could get your broccoli and your bread and your milk and your orange juice straight to your door via Aussie Farmers. And that was cool. It wasn't quite as intense as America. We did 13 hours a day in America. In Australia, I was like, can I do 13 hours a day again? No, we've got to drive you out to there and then we go for beers afterwards. It was
3 days to this farm.
It was a little bit simpler, but again, there's one way of paying my way through Australia, which was cool as well. So, but yeah, very interesting.
Do you find when you've travelled and worked abroad, do you find different countries people react to you differently? Or
yeah, and as you can appreciate, when you knock on the door and you're from England in Indiana or Melbourne, that's not normal, is it?
No.
And so that's quite unusual situation. So there's always a dialogue to be had. And the benefit is that you're not getting the door slammed on you as opposed to when I worked in York or Leeds. Yeah. It wasn't uncommon to have 15 doors go away. And again, that's all part of the job as well.
In America, I used to get I'm not working in America, but when you've travelled there, you get there. I've got a friend called Helen in London. Do you know her?
Yeah.
Not really.
Well, and it was all that back in the day when I worked. It's like, so do you know this was before Diana. Do you know Diana, or do you know Charles, or do you know David Beckham? And the great thing is, you could often say yes, and they'd go running off to their dad and go, "This guy knows David Beckham," and you kind of just knew that one, they were probably going to be a customer because you're selling educational books, but it was always good fun. And when you look at the number, I think the number of Americans that travel and stuff like that, it's just a cool place to be.
Yeah.
From that perspective.
So the kind of internet and telephony world that you're in is that evolving with technology at the moment? Are you able to offer more? Or?
Yeah, I think we're quite. I believe we're compelling in what we do. So a couple of the probably USPs from our side is that SCG have the ability to put things like O2, Vodafone and EE all on one bill. There's people who do that, but it's pretty unusual because still 75% of the UK go to EE Direct or O2 Direct or Vodafone.
Right. You
have a challenge with your signal, you're locked in and you can't do anything about it. So that's a huge thing for us. But similarly is that if you're BT and obviously that's EE, you're stuck with those. You can only do that. But your next door neighbour might have Virgin Internet. And so it's the ability to do multiple services to multiple people that benefits. Yeah. And I think the other thing is now, because it's no longer just a cost game, it's a solution game, which helps us deliver software as a service, which helps us add far more value to their business, as opposed to just, does your phone work? and that was what it used to be. Whereas now it's cybersecurity. I had an email yesterday saying that a phishing email had gone round.
Yeah.
And that was an email to me to say, don't click on a link. And so there's just all of the more common things that are happening on a day-to-day basis that every business should be very, very aware of that truly aren't.
Yeah. Well, I use you guys for my mobile stuff. So
Thank you, James. I appreciate I've plugged that.
yeah. I know that was good because, able to save me money and give me a choice of networks, and I just found that really useful. A bit of a plug.
Well, thank you, James. Thank you. Very good.
You should sponsor the podcast.
Sure. I'll wait for that email to come through.
So the industry as a whole, do you see any? Are there any challenges at the moment for you guys?
I think challenges is the exciting side of stuff. Is that you'll probably listeners on this will hear that their probably smaller company has been bought out. So that there's lots and lots of bigger players, and SEG are one of those, and so that they'll be buying up different smaller independent companies. So I guess the challenge with that, and we speak to customers every day who they were with a company really, really nice, knew the owner, knew this, knew that, but then were bought out by a bigger group. The minute that bigger group bought them out, the nice relationship stopped. You got a service manager here who you never really knew and you never really spoke to, and so there was never really that relationship.
Right.
And that's getting more and more common as you'll probably get less and less players within the market. I think our biggest thing, and coming back to us trying to help people set up their own telecoms company, if you're a customer with me, James, you have my WhatsApp, you have my phone, you can communicate with me however you want to, for me to help you get what's right for you.
Yeah.
And that's not without challenges, but to me, that's really personal. And so every customer we sell to there's a little bit of me that goes with that.
Yeah.
And that to me is important. And I think that's being sometimes lost between a lot of the bigger players. That becomes very transactional.
Yeah. There's a thirst for humanity. I've said this on thinking every single podcast, and if you can give a bit of humanity and human contact back, then that adds a lot to the service. I think that you wouldn't get from Vodafone probably unless you haven't paid your bills.
Probably, and it's
other providers.
There are other providers out there, but I think that's the other part, isn't it? Is that how long do we think that's last? I think we've probably got still 10, 15 years. The conversation I had with this 19-year-old today was, I set him a task on Tuesday. On Friday, he built an AI function that could call you as me and go through a script to get you into a transaction that probably could help me then take that call 5 minutes down the line when I knew a few more things.
Yeah.
But I think if you got that call, you'd probably see straight through, and that's a bot, not interested, hang up. Whereas him as a 19-year-old would probably be absolutely fine with delivering that. And so I think there is that, like you said, there's a humanity part of it. But I think there's only so long that's going to exist to a certain extent as everything gets normalized. And so I think AI will take a form of it, but I still truly believe the bigger business you get, you still want to deal with people. You still want the problem to be solved by a person, because that's important.
It's the solution side of it.
It is, yeah. And that's how you can still add value, drive a higher price point, as opposed to just, let's give you this because it works. And unfortunately, that's probably going to cause problems anyway.
We say at the moment, so it might change. AI kind of gives you back what you ask for. But and I know that maybe what I want from you is not the best solution, and you have experience with other people and say, well, actually, I've got similar business to you that does this and has that, and it saves the money overall. I think that would probably be better, and they'd probably go, yeah.
And I think you hear that so much, don't you? And I think you just said there is the transaction of they give you what you are asking for, whereas you listen to so many podcasts and so many far cleverer people than I do, and I hear the term is that you don't know what you don't know, and it's that thirst for you don't know what you don't know, and then it actually becomes the question to ask. People don't ask those questions, right? And I think that is the importance of either a good salesperson or a good marketing company to deliver what you don't know, and deliver in a way that people can consume it, as opposed to just talking at you and hoping something sticks.
So away from business, you like sport?
Love sport. Anything you can keep score at, James. That's important to me.
I was fascinated because obviously you run like a golfing network.
Yeah, a little bit golfing.
Yeah, and that's quite an interesting thing to do, isn't it? Because it's a bit longer. People spend a bit more time together. They always find that the joy and the sadness brings people together from a good shot or a bad shot, or I'm interested in your views on it as to, do you think it's good for business to do things like that?
I think, in my opinion, I think it's massive for business. I love sport at the end of the day. So it's the reason why I run the business that I run, and the way I run it is because I want to do more things that I like. Yeah. And so I love going to Bolton Wanderers. So I generally go to Bolton Wanderers with customers, and I love playing golf. I don't generally play golf with my best mate or go to the pub with. I'll probably play golf with a customer or someone who has telecoms who I'd like to be a customer, or someone who I can just pick the brains on. And so that, to me, gives me guilt-free sport. Yeah. And I also play during the week, so I don't have to face the wrath of my wife and my kids when they want me to do that side of it as well. So that is important to me, and I think there's a mental health benefit to it. There's I think just I think sometimes just a reminder of, this is why I do this. I don't just do it to sit in front of a computer all day. And so I know it's easy. And then some mates of mine say, "Oh, you're always in the golf club." I play golf once a month, really. But I might put something together on YouTube or LinkedIn about it, and then because that's important to me, and I want to surround myself with that sort of person. Right. And let's face it, what I do, everyone needs. It's internet, telephony, and mobiles, right? So every conversation can usually lead somewhere because someone knows someone. But it's not even just golf, like cricket, anything that I can do sports wise. Just always, ever since I was a lad, loved it.
In my head, I thought you'd played football.
Yes, so I was at Walsall when Paul Merson was at Walsall, which was back in the day. So that's my sort of claim to fame. It was an interesting time, but I wasn't as good as those guys. So if anyone knows sort of Matty Fryatt, Michael Ricketts, that was my sort of Walsall era, just before Troy Deeney and stuff like that. But I got released when I was 16, 17 and went to Tamworth and then went to Loughborough University. So I wasn't quite good enough. I am bitter. Ashley Williams was also in my regional team. He made it to Welsh captain. Yeah, I started my own telecoms business. So that's
but he dressed better than he does.
Oh yeah, some of his outfits. I'm not bitter at all. But Ashley, I haven't spoken to Ashley for a lot. He's done phenomenally well. But literally, me and him were like that, and he's gone here and I haven't. So like I said, not bitter.
So is it Walsall that you're from originally?
So at Tamworth, which is probably about 20. So if anyone knows the Snowdome and Castle, that's pretty much the only reason why you know Tamworth. But just north of Birmingham. So about 20, 30 minutes that we made. Tuesday, Thursday, Sundays was my trip to Walsall almost every week. 12 to 17. Yeah.
And so were you academic at school? Or?
I was. I still, James, my parents were, my mum worked, did pizzas at Asda, and my dad was a lorry driver. But the one thing I always remember these guys was, you just need an education. And so I was the only person to go to university in my family, all that sort of stuff. So, but that was instilled from my mum, is that you can want to be a footballer and that's okay, but you need to do well at school and stuff like that. So it was important, but probably just did enough to get by.
And did you choose Loughborough because of the sport reputation it has?
Funnily enough, I'm pretty tight, James. So I saw the opportunity to get a £4,000 student loan, and still live at home. and it was 40 minutes commuting, and I only have to go sort of 3 times a week, if that. And it plays sport, and it's quite a boozy university. It sounded like a no-brainer to me. So I got my £4,000 and invested that away. So that was,
you did it the right way. I invested it in different ways.
Compared to some, as did most of my mates who went to university. But no, I had a good time, but slightly different experience to some.
Yeah, amazing. So, future plans for the business, for the industry, or
Yeah, I think for the business. So again, we all run our own books of business. So that's we always look for a sort of 4 or 5 year sellout from that side. So that's part of that. But again, we still maintain that relationship with the customers and through SCG. But the bigger part is we're on a journey, and it's not an easy one. But I'm on a bit of a sort of goal with my business partner John Willis to create 20 millionaires. So that's quite an ambitious goal, but we know how to do it because we've done it. And so I'm always keen to, if anyone knows anyone who is keen to go on a journey with people who know what they're doing, they don't have to be telecoms people. If they are telecoms people, that's great, but we can take people from any industry into that side of it. So, but beyond that, I still got dreams of running a football club and all that sort of stuff. So that's probably for the next podcast.
If if someone was ambitious and is listening and wants to start their own business and feels like this might be something for them, would you have any advice for them, or a kind of an impression of what they should expect, or
Yeah, and I must say I really like this question, and I think there's probably 2 answers I'm going to give for 2 different ages, because I think there's a context behind this. And then so I think for the 19, 20, 21-year-old, I would say do it as quickly as you can, as soon as you can. Because especially if you don't have a mortgage, if you don't have kids, you don't have commitments, you go out there and try it, fail 5 times, learn a ton.
Yeah.
Find a mentor, find someone else who's done what you've done, follow them. Give your time for free. Don't be precious. I think this is part of the thing is I think everyone comes out of school now and either wants to be an influencer or earn £25,000. That to me isn't real life and doesn't really teach you that much. You get given a lot. And so come back to your question is if for a younger person, 19, 20, 21, that's what I do. I think I've also got an opinion for an individual who's 35, 40, kind of like me. I worked in the corporate world through till probably about 32, 33. I'd like to think made some decent money. So I had a little bit of savings and I was always that way inclined. I'd say to that person, still do it, but I'd give yourself a runway of maybe 18 months to kind of go, okay, well, I'm going to work towards this in 18 months. And so I can speak for my industry, but any industry really. So if they wanted to go into your industry, they were keen on SEO, or they wanted to go into football agency or whatever it might be, is rightly or wrongly on someone else's time and someone else's payroll, give yourself that 18-month trajectory to earn, learn, absorb yourself in it, gain some mentors, but ultimately give yourself the opportunity to be as successful as possible and then jump out. And so I see lots of people sitting up in a boardroom and going, I quit. And then walking out. Yeah. I'm like, you're probably going to be end up back in employment in 6 months' time.
So you can do it while you're working.
In my opinion, I think the amount of side hustles and opportunities. My wife has a travel company and does that on the side with loads of people who are running cool businesses and stuff like that. I think there's so much opportunity for that now, as long as you're willing to work a little bit after work and during lunchtimes and stuff like that. But also there's just so much information out there that enables people to do the learning while being a nurse or a teacher or all of these other areas that are really, really competent things. But there's no reason why you have to be a teacher for the rest of your life. There's the ability while teaching for 18 months to figure all this out. Build, in my world, a pipeline, but build an expertise or a value add that you can start doing it while you're in that occupation, and then going about and do it. And I'd say do it because as long as you've got the willingness to do it and the courage, it's not that many people who fail in my eyes.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you they talk about that with if they're selling utilities and things like that, where you can just do it if you're a policeman or you work in shifts, you can do it around your job, and so equally you could do what you're doing.
Yeah, and we do, and again, I speak to lots of people who don't have 15 grand in the bank to stop working next week for 3 months while they figure it out. And so I'd always encourage, do the learning, do the training, build the foundations, build your pipeline, while potentially and to the employers out there, you're probably going to be a bit annoyed, but people should do it. It's take the opportunity. And yeah, exactly, why not? And I think some people are a bit fearful. What if they find out, and what if they do this? I'd argue that the owner of that company would probably did that to become the owner of that company, and that's the difference. And I think people are just a bit nice, a bit comfortable, a bit okay with things. But I think if you can have that mindset that you're going to do it, and to me, it's just taking control of your own destiny. Is you do what you want for you, as opposed to making that other person a ton of cash. Because let's face it, that's probably what we've done all our life. Made those other people who drive the Bentley and the Rolls Royce a ton of cash. You can do that yourself based upon what you want and your goals in life are.
Sounds like a perfect reason for doing it.
In my opinion. And I think we've talked about this before, haven't we, James? Is that stop making other people money and start living the life that you want, which I'm sure will lead to the amount of money that you probably want to live the life that you want.
Definitely. I mean, that sounds like a perfect place to end the chat.
Cool. How about that?
It's been a real pleasure to have you on, and I was thinking about it for a very long time before I actually got around to asking.
That was good. I thought you were just guilty about the golf, but no, it was great.
That was so funny. I had an awful round, and then I hit one far too well, and it went about 50 yards past the pin on the 18. Do you remember that? And it went through all the practice holes and the putting, and probably nearly hit a few people. And then in front of everyone, I just kind of chipped it up and put it within a foot.
Yeah, you look like a proper golfer.
Oh, you're a good player.
Yeah, I was like, where's that been?
For one shot in 3 hours, you know.
I thought you were going to ask me that when you went about the tenuous link of golf. And it was like, well, we had a great game, but I never saw you. You were on the right, I was on the left. And that's the challenge. But, it was good fun. It was been great. It's just really fun.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for coming on.
No worries. Thank you. It was wicked.
Thanks, all good.